Hello and welcome to part 2 of finding percentages of a number. This tutorial will have you find more difficult percentages than what you might have seen before, such as finding 13%, 24%, 78%, and how you can divide by 10 and by 100 to find 10 and 1%, and use that along with 5% and 50% and 25% to find lots of different percentages a lot more easily. If you're ready, let's go! Remember the straightforward ground rule that to find 10% you would divide by 10. To find 1% you would divide by 100, and that goes back to the idea of percent meaning per every 100. And if you remember that the percentage sign, you can see a 1, a 0 and a 0, and it's meaning 100. 1% you divide by 100 and you'll get the number. Now I'll divide each of these values by 100 to find 1% of it. So if I take 440 and divide it by 100, I will have 1% of it being 4.4. If I take 900 and divide it by 100, that's even easier, that would be 9. Now, £45. If I divide that by 10, I would have £4.50. So to divide it by 100 will give me no pounds and 45, or 45 pence. And then 2,300 millilitres, or 2.3 litres. If I divide that by 100, I will have 23 millilitres, being 1%. Now before you might have used 10% to find other multiples of 10%. For instance, to get to 20% you take your 10% and multiply it by 2. To get 30% you multiply it by 3. And you do the same with 1%. You can take 1% and multiply it by the number of percent you'd like to find. So to find 2%, I would take my 1%, for instance in this case being 3 is being 1% of 300, and I'd multiply it by 2, and that would get me 2%. So 2% of 300 would be 6. I'd multiply the 1% of 300 being 3 by 3 to make 3%, which would be 9. 4% would be 12, 4 times 3. 8% would be 24, because 8 times 3, which is the 1%, is 24. And 9% would be 27. And 11% would be 33. And as you go along, you can start to see that the 3 times tables is in there. So pause this video now and have a go at finding these percentages of these numbers. Make sure you find 1% and then multiply that by the number to get your percentage. Away you go. Here are your answers. So I found 2% of 800, 1% is 8, and I just times it by 2. That gives me 16. 6% of 1,200. Well, 1% would be 12, so do 12 times 6. 6 times 12 or 12 times 6 gives me 72. Then 8% of 9,000. 1% would be 90, so I have to do 90 multiplied by 8. 9 times 8 is 72, so 90 times 8 would be 720. How might you work out 17% of 300? There's lots of ways that you could do it. You could find 10%, that's quite easy for you, and then you could find 7%. But how would you find that 7%? You could do 1% and times it by 7, or you could take 5%, and you can find 5% by halving 10% and adding 2% to it. Again, you need to find 1%, but then just double it. So if I do it this way, if I do find 1%, 1% would be 3, and then 3 times 7 gives me 21. I would add that 21 to the 10%, and the 10% is 30. 30 at 21 gives me 51, which is the right answer. If I did it with 5%, I could take the 5%, which is half of the 10%, so half of 30 is 50, and then find 2%. 2% is double 3, and that is 6. And if I add the 15 and the 6 together, that gives me the 21. The same 21 that I would get if I multiplied 3 by 7. I would once again add that to 30, which is 10%, and I would get 51 altogether. There is indeed a third way that you might want to consider. So you could find 20%, because 20% is near 17%, and then you could take 3% away, which would leave you with 17%. So if 10% is 30, 20% would be 60. If 1% is 3, 3% is 9. If I take 9 away from 60, I will also get 51, just like I did with the other two methods. So think for yourself now how you would find the percentages of each of these numbers. You can do it in any way that you want. You might use 1%, you might use 5%, 10%, you might even use 25%. It's up to you, and you can work your way up or you work your way down. But choose the method that you prefer and see if you get the right answer. Away you go. Here are your answers. 42 is 14% of 300. I would have done that by finding 10% and then using 1% to find 4% and adding the two together. 90% of 500 is 95. I'd have done that by finding 20% and taking away 1%. 20% would be 100, and we'll take 1% away, which is 5. 5 less than 100 is your 95. And then 252 is the answer for 36% of 700. I'd have used 10% to get up to 30%. So 10% times 3. And then I would have done 1% and multiplied it by 6 to get to the answer. But like I've said, there's several ways of getting to the right answer, and it doesn't matter how you got to 42, 95 and 252 if it makes sense to you. That's the end of this tutorial. You should have a big grin on your face if you've got all of those right. If you've not, come and see me and I'll give you a hand, and well done for getting to the end. See you soon.